Julie, welcome to the T100. It's good to have you here. You sort of just come in and finish second and be the only person to compete with Taylor Nib. How's it feel?
Yeah, pretty good. Obviously, I'm tired now, but I'm really happy with today's race. Obviously, coming into the T100, I've been watching the previous races, and I know they're fast and furious, so I didn't really know how I would go, but I'm super pleased with second today.
Talk to me about that drafting penalty.
Yeah, as I said, I'm new to this whole thing, so also the 20-meter draft rule, the race ranger system, I had to ask all the girls around how it's working. Luckily, I also had the sticker on my bike, but yeah, it's just a race dynamic in the group that I'm not used to. And there was one situation where I was at the front, Imogen passed me, and then at the same time Paula passed the two of us. So I was in a good distance to Imogen, but as Paula passed Imogen, obviously Imogen was braking. And then I got into Imogen's red, and I didn't make the pass. I also set up, so that was my mistake. I needed to pass back, which I didn't at the point. Yeah, so obviously the drafting penalty was justified, and I didn't argue it. I accepted it, and I just tried to hammer the last 15K when I was on my own to limit my losses. And yeah, I was actually happy that I could make up some of the time that I lost by the penalty, and in the end I don't think it would have changed my second place. I don't think I could have beaten Taylor. I would have been close, but I don't think I would have changed the finishing position. So yeah, it's a learning experience, and I'll make sure I don't get another one in the next race.
So you came in and straight away you had the fastest run split. There's sort of a bit of an aura about your run with those two very fast half marathons that you've done, and people were like, oh, well, were they real? What were those courses like? Were they short? Was it, you know what I mean? Because they weren't televised really, no one really saw them, and it was just these crazy fast run splits. And then you come out here today, and the best runner that has ever been in female T100 racing in Ashley Gentle, you put a minute into her overall and have the fastest run split of the day. Talk to me about what makes you such a fast runner.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, those half Ironman times, I didn't believe them myself when I heard them. So obviously with those distances, you can never be sure that it's correct. In one of the races, I also know the course was short by 400 meters. So obviously it was good times, but how accurate they were, you can't ever be sure. I also don't run with a GPS watch, so I can't say myself. Yeah, and my run, I think I showed in the Olympic distances as well that I've developed into one of the best runners, and it's been just a lot of consistent work. For the last year, after being injured at the beginning of 2023, I didn't miss a day of running, so I could just train really consistently. Obviously, I don't run every day, but I didn't miss a session due to any niggles. So I think that consistency and just the years before that I've just improved and sticked with my program, I think that just really starts to pay off now.
Talk to me about your setup. So you live and train in St. Moritz, is that right? And you're under the eye of Coach Brett Sutton, who is probably known as the most old school coach in World Triathlon. And he has a funny knack of producing female champions. So talk to me about that setup.
Yeah, I started training with Brett back in 2016, 2017, so it's already a long time. And when I'm in Switzerland, I'm based either in Zurich or all summer I'm based in St. Moritz in altitude, which is, it's really nice to train up there and be at the altitude in a familiar place where I feel really comfortable and have a good group to train with. And now that Brett is working more with the Chinese Federation, I actually spent 4 months in China at the beginning of this year, so where I also had a lot of good infrastructure and a good team, other athletes, especially good swimmers to train with. So yeah, I think just working closely with Brett, having good people around, like Els Visser, for example. I learned a lot by being an apprentice to Nicolas Spirik before she retired. So it's just a really good group of people who are serious about the sport and having a good program. Obviously Brett is known to be a bit old school. I don't ride to watts or anything, so it goes a lot by feel, but I think it's working especially for the female athletes.
Since you've had to make this transition now from short course to long course, where, by the way, you won an Olympic silver medal, well done on that.
Thank you.
What's been the hardest bike session that you've done out on your time trial bike?
I'd say, probably one of the hardest ones would be where you go out in a group of, well, actually it was only Amelia Watkinson and me, and we did like an hour of team time trial. Like we tried to stay in the distance and we just go for it for an hour, and the wind up in St. Moritz is pretty brutal. So one way you have a really hard headwind, so that makes it hard, and then with the tailwind you just still have to push as well. So I think that's probably the hardest session I've done so far. And just generally getting used to the new bike, the new position, to putting power out consistently. That's a big change. In short course, you sometimes get a rest, you go to the front, then you attack, and so the whole dynamic of riding the bike in the race is different, and it's something I'm still getting used to.
And what about with your running? Give someone an idea of the hardest run session you did in the lead up into this race.
Yeah, it would have been, as I was up in St. Moritz and it was starting to get quite cold, I did a session on the treadmill where it was 20 times 3 minutes hard and 1 minute rest on the side. So essentially it was like more or less 20 times 800 with a minute rest. And
pretty much just a T100 distance, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that was, after that session I was pretty tired. Also doing it at altitude, it makes it harder, but it helps me to just get into my rhythm. Running on the treadmill obviously I do it quite a lot, and it works for me because it just, forces me to keep to the pace consistently.
Something I've wanted to ask you for a while now, maybe about a month now. I feel like Taylor Knibb has the mental edge on a lot of the women she races against, particularly Ashley Gentle. When Taylor Knibb's not in a race, I swear Ashley Gentle grows a foot. And I think she races differently. I'm not saying she has bad races when Taylor's here, she doesn't. It's just something about the dynamic with Taylor being there and how it potentially affects Ash, even on a subconscious level. And I feel like that happens to a lot of women, whereas you haven't had to be through that experience of getting beaten by 10 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 4 minutes by Taylor Knibb in all these big races. You're coming in here full of like opportunity, sort of, you're starry-eyed a little bit. And we saw today that you really could have pushed Taylor hard and you're so new to it. Do you come into these races fearing Taylor Knibb, or do you come in here thinking that you can be the one to finally beat her?
Well, actually, Taylor Knibb wasn't the only person on the start line that scared me a little bit. Obviously, the women's field here was extremely strong. As you said, Ashley Gentle, Annie Haug, so many good women on the start line. But yeah, especially Taylor, I've watched her, especially on the bike. She's a machine. No one can keep up. So obviously, I knew about her strengths. But you just have to go for it until the finish line, you know. I knew that I was maybe 5 minutes down from after the bike or even more. But I also know that I'm a strong runner, so I'll just try to reel in as much time as I can. And it doesn't matter if it's Taylor Knibb or any other person at the front.
If the T100 are listening to this right now, the decision makers, what would you say to them to make them want to have you in the next 2 races, but not only that, for the season at 2025?
Yeah, obviously I showed a good race today. I think I can make it entertaining and exciting to, if we have a similar situation like today, to hunt down Taylor. And today I wasn't really happy with my swim. At the end of the first lap, I was quite close to the front, but then lost a lot of time in the second lap. So if I can be a bit closer after the swim, maybe we'll see. I would be really interested to hop on the bike with someone like India. She was super strong today, or also Taylor, to see how I will go if I'm a bit closer to them. So I think I can mix it up at the front, and that will be definitely a goal for the rest of the season and especially next year.
Talk to me about, coming in and competing with someone like India Lee, and Kat Matthews was here, Ashley Gentle, Harv. Just talk to me a little bit more about those athletes and how you see them as someone making their debut here at the T100 World Tour.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I watch all the triathlon races, whatever distance it is. I love watching triathlon, so I also know what these women are capable of. I saw how India won in Miami and that she's a strong athlete, but I felt like coming off the bike, I definitely had a chance to catch her, and that was my main goal, to run into second. And so yeah, I see all the other athletes and I know their strengths and I also know their weaknesses. But for me, it was just really interesting to race today and see how I stack up and how I compare to these athletes over this distance. And I think today showed that I can compete, and it's really exciting.
Yeah. Julie, second place on debut at a T100 World Tour race. I mean, I know you got a wild card today, but Sam Renouf, if you're watching, if you're listening, please give Julie a contract for these next two races, wild card, whatever. Call it what you got to call it. Get her at Lake Las Vegas. Get her at Dubai. We might have finally found someone who can compete with Taylor Niven. Yeah, I mean, as someone who gets to watch the races, I love it, and I can't wait to watch you develop and grow in this sport, this side of the sport. So yeah, Julie, good luck. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you for having me and for giving me the chance to race here and spend some great time in Ibiza, and I really enjoyed the course as well. So yeah, I'm excited for the future.
For
exactly.
Okay, Indy. So when me and you talk both on air and off air, it generally tends to be like not that serious. We're part of the Silly Goose Brigade.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know that about us. And so I want to actually start this one a bit serious. But I want to warn you, I'm going to do it before I do it because we probably come to expect it not to be that serious.
Yeah.
Ironman World Championships last week. You came into T1 and I was watching the race and I turned to who I was watching it with and I said, Indy looks sad. Like you looked defeated, I thought, coming into T1. You walked through it and you grabbed your bag, and to me it kind of looked like you were like, do I want to be here? And then you went backwards through the bike, which was like super weird to watch, and then didn't finish. Talk to me about where your head was at there, like really at, and like what was really going on with you, not like just fluff.
Yeah. Okay. We can get deep. I was just the whole week leading into Ironman World Champs. Sorry, I hate that word. World Championship. I was just like done. I don't know how to articulate it really. It was just I'd been away from home for the best part of 6 weeks, and I was pretty exhausted. I wasn't in my usual environment, and I'd worked really, really hard. I trained really hard. I was in really good shape, but mentally I was just not ready to tackle an Ironman or a World Championship in a competitive way. And the environment, Nice is a really great city. There's a lot going on, but for me, there's like too much going on. There were so many people. Everywhere you went, there was just people, and it was hot. There was like no space from anything, and I just really struggled with that. And by the time I started the race on Sunday morning, I was exhausted and had no willpower left to put into racing and fighting for a world championship. I was just done.
Did you have that thing the day before the race, or maybe it was a couple of days before the race or race morning, where you kind of wanted a way out?
Oh yeah, I was hoping to like have a sore throat or to like roll my ankle or something like that to happen, and it would have been like really welcome and be like, oh, it's best not to start. Yeah. But I didn't want an excuse. I also thought, oh, like I'll get into the race and I'll feel competitive and I'll get after it and it'll all be fine. But it was so far from fine. Yeah.
Were you able to talk to anyone in the lead up? Like, did anyone know what you were actually experiencing and feeling?
I didn't articulate it with anybody specifically, but I think my family knew that I was not particularly in a great place, and like my friends knew that I was maybe struggling with just feeling like calm and ready to go as you need to be for a World Championships, and I was just so far from that. It was pretty tough. Yeah.
Okay, and now fast forward 1 week, and I was saying a lot in commentary.
Yeah.
The old adage, a week's a long time in sport.
Such a long time.
I think this is the most clear example I've seen of it in triathlon in at least like a long time. I don't think we've ever seen a more real and evident example of a week being a long time in sport, in our sport, because usually our races are so brutal and so long that it takes a month before you're ready to go again.
Yeah.
This turnaround was crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty mad. I think it just shows you how much of our sport also is mental, and you've got to be in a good space going into a race to be able to get the most out of your body. Obviously, I had the fitness because I haven't got any fitter in the last week. I haven't done any training. I've just, I'm just like a bit more content and a bit happier because I went home for 2 days. So, yeah, a week is a very long time. It's even longer if you're not very happy. But if you just get a little bit of what you need, then you can turn things around. Yeah.
So there were periods out on the bike today where you were the only one who was really able to not go with Taylor Nichols.
Yeah. I think 200 metres. That's
you
you
saw her out there.
Yeah, saw her. Yeah.
There was actually some times where you pulled back in time, particularly through the technical sections.
Yeah.
And like you didn't come into T2 that far behind her, especially compared to everyone else. So talk to me about your experience out there today.
It was pretty lonely, to be honest. From like the first few strokes of the swim, I knew that I felt good, and I knew that it could be a good day because I was just felt really good and like real smooth. And then came out of the water in dream scenario of being in that front group. So like last week, 2.5 minutes down. This week, front pack.
And Taylor's 5 in Florida. Sarah Perez, and you were actually ahead of Taylor Nipp.
Yeah.
And there was you in there.
In my head, I was lolling because when I used to do ITU, I was like such a bad swimmer. But then I was like, here we are.
Olympic front pack.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Second in it.
Yeah.
Off the back, struggling to hold on.
No, I was like, I was enjoying myself out there. So yeah, that was good. Then got onto the bike and I knew I wanted to ride like really hard. And in my head, I thought, I'll just see if you could go with Taylor. And quite quickly, it was evident that that would have been not a great idea. So gave up on that idea. But also, because of the nature of the course, I didn't know where anybody was until you're half an hour in. So I didn't know if the group behind me were catching me at all. And then got to the far end and realised that they hadn't caught me at all. And that felt pretty good. So I just carried on doing what I was doing. But I was just solo for two hours out on the bike.
Talk to me about numbers. I don't think me and you have ever talked numbers before.
No.
You're obviously riding solo for 80k, so you must have been head down. It was a course that suited you if you could push both good power and have a good CDA. It's just a combination of both. So were you just head down, riding to your own numbers, looking at your power the whole time?
Yeah, usually I race with power and heart rate and use like a mixture of both to gauge my effort, but I made a conscious decision today not to wear my heart rate monitor and just like go with the race and just see what happened. So I was just looking at my power numbers and I was riding a lot harder than I usually would.
Let me in. What are the numbers?
I think I normalised 261.
Wow. Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, but like I'm a stronger gal than a lot of gals.
Not really. I'm across numbers in the women's side. I spend a lot of time talking to people about that. That's big for people who don't know. That's big numbers.
Okay, well, I was pleased with it.
What was
Taylor
good. Pushing there?
Oh, who knows? And I was like, there were parts of the course where you needed to ride harder, and then the downhill cross tailwind on the way back in, you could like cruise it a little bit through the roundabout. So I was trying to recover on those bits. Yeah, I forgot the question.
No, nothing. I was asking about numbers. You answered it. Can we talk about Taylor a little bit?
Let's talk about Taylor, yeah.
Human, you think, or maybe not? Like somewhere else?
She's something, isn't she? Just on the race course, incredible athlete. Off the race course, like incredibly interesting person.
Just the most unique person on the T100 tour.
The most energy of anybody I know, I think.
Yep.
She just bounces off the walls.
Yep.
But in the best ways. Like, she's absolute comedy.
Me and Jan, we grabbed a quick coffee to debrief after the commentary.
Yeah.
And we saw Taylor riding home.
Yeah.
And she was genuinely riding hard.
I bet she
Like,
was. Asking questions as she goes to everybody.
She was just genuinely doing an interval on the way home. I reckon, with her like T100 backpack on.
She's brilliant.
And we just looked at each other and went, it's Taylor.
It's Taylor. She'll be out off for a run tomorrow morning, I'm sure.
Yeah, crazy. What's it like being out there on the race course with her when she does ride off? Do you kind of accept that you might be fighting for second the moment you see her ride off into the distance?
I don't accept that I'm fighting for second. I just know that it's unrealistic to expect to ride with her because she's so good on the bike. But that doesn't mean that you can't limit the loss and potentially get closer to her on the run. It's just a ferry coming in.
Ibiza things.
Yeah, party boats. Obviously that didn't happen today, but you just got to know that you got to accept where you are and know that Taylor's a level above on the bike at the moment.
And then you were in second for a long time today. Ultimately, the T100 newbie, Julie Derron, comes and takes that away from you. Talk to me a bit about that. It wasn't a battle. You kind of only saw her for 5 seconds.
There was no battling in it. She was running fast, and my coach was out on the course and he was saying that Julie's going to catch you, and that's just like realistic. She's going to catch you, but he was just giving me the gaps to back to fourth. So basically, securing a podium was the best I could hope for on the run because Julie was just she ran really fast.
A minute faster than Ash Gentle.
It's incredible, yeah.
Run, which is, it's pretty mind-blowing what's going on with the female side of T100 racing at the moment. And
it's
the level,
cool.
just Taylor's here and then Julie's here, and we're seeing that it's just constantly evolving in front of our eyes. And you're actually a part of that, your performance at Miami was a big part of that. Like, you weren't involved in the battles in 2023.
No.
And then you came and set the bar high early in the year. So it's not just Julie and Taylor, but it's also you. And it's crazy how many new faces we're seeing in the sport and how high the levels is at the moment.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah.
Was there any funny stories out there on the racetrack today? I know you were by yourself all day, so maybe not so much. Was there any funny stories before the race, after the race?
My favourite part was on the last lap. There was a lady who was negotiating her way across the course quite slowly. But she had a really cute little dog with her, and it just so happened that some of my best mates were just on the side of the course, and all I could muster up was dog. So they've been reliving that with me, which is quite cute. Yeah, just sums it up really.
They hadn't seen the dog. Yeah. Indy, what now? Where to from now? Are you feeling better? Are you completely back, do you think? Do you think that was 100% of you today?
I'd say it was. I don't think it could be 100% because I still had a solid training day out last Sunday. Like, I wasn't part of the race of the World Championship, but I still did a 6-hour solid day of training, feeling miserable all day. But so I wasn't the freshest coming into this race, but I think I was pretty close to being 100%. Yeah, I can't pretend I wasn't. I was pretty close.
Are you doing Vegas and Dubai?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that you can win one of those races? Like, do you when you're talking to yourself in your internal dialogue, do you truly believe that you can win one of them?
Yeah, I do. I don't line up to a race. I don't stand on the start line of a race and think, second is the best I can get here. I stand on the start line thinking, I'm going to do everything I can to win, like sometimes it becomes really obvious in a race that that's not going to happen. But like I've won one of these races, so there's no reason why I can't win another. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, and I hope that's what you'd say, because I know it's very easy to race someone like Taylor Nibb and see someone like Julie Derron and maybe not get down on yourself, but doubt yourself. And yeah, I think you made it pretty evident today that you are close. And yeah, so I'm just stoked you said that, because I can't wait for the battles over these next 2 races. And you're actually still in the fight to finish really high up. Like, you can still win it. You can still win the series overall if you have 2 good races.
Yeah, if I have 2 good races and other people don't have good races, I think. I don't complicate my life with looking at stuff like that until it happens, because there's so many what ifs and what might happen, and I just work better with facts. So I wait for that.
Well, of the 5 women really who are right up there in the battle, you are one of them, and your 3rd place today was special, and it was just great to see you bounce back so quickly, and we didn't have to wait, and you didn't have to think about that disappointment last week for too long. You can now replace it with today, which was it was awesome to watch. So, Indy, well done, and thank you for putting on the show. It was great to watch, and it was a big part of the story out there in the women's race today.
Thanks, Jack. Cheers.